Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 274 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Tuesday, April 11th, 2023. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. You know, James, I had a lot of good audio to choose from this week. I just didn't have time to put it together to go with the intro, but man, there were some good clips out there this week. Some good stuff.
Right? Yeah, there was some damning audio for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There was Kyle Larson dropping the F-bomb in the media center.
Yep. There was that.
That was a good one.
Yep.
There were a few good ones.
Yep. There was the we shouldn't race on dirt anymore from Kyle Larson as well.
Yeah. I think we might even talk about that in a little bit.
We might. Yeah. There was a lot for sure.
Yeah. Well, how are you doing before we talk about racing? How's things going this week? I'm less tired this week than last week. I probably will upload the right audio today after the podcast. So
I tell you what, I'm feeling more tired. I don't know why. It's just been, I think Easter got to me because there was kids running all over the place. So I don't know. I'm just trying to rebound, I think, at this point. That's about where I'm at. So
I'm coming off of photographing a 7-game series, a hockey series that my team won. So,
yep.
Yeah. So I get to do it all over again.
I'm telling you, dude, you guys gave us a scare because it should have been over in 4 and it went 7.
You should have been sitting there.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I wasn't. So that was you. I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was stressful. There's nothing better than being at a game an hour away from home, going into overtime only to lose.
Yep.
That sucks.
Yep. Oh my gosh. That's got to be the worst feeling too. You work so hard and I don't know. I don't even know what to compare it to. Well, you get that far and then you're just out.
Not only that, but it happens on the road and you don't. It's a rivalry, man. So anybody who's not familiar, there's the Saginaw Spirit and the Flint Firebirds, part of the Ontario Hockey League. I cover the Saginaw Spirit. I'm one of their team photographers, and they're an hour apart. It's a big rivalry. This is the first time they've ever met in the playoffs. They met in the first round, and the two teams and fans kind of hate each other. I mean, they don't because it's good natured, but they hate each other. And there's not a place you want to lose less than in their arena.
Oh my gosh.
And it sucked, man. But we didn't win once in their arena, so that was good. So.
Yep, and you got the one that mattered.
Yeah.
I mean, you had
finally.
Yeah, you had the home ice for the one that mattered most. So
yeah.
that's all that counts. Game 7s are where it's at.
Oh, it was intense too. Full house last night, lots of fans, lots of cheering. It was loud. It was good stuff. So.
Yep.
But hey, this is a NASCAR podcast, not a hockey podcast.
That's right.
And I guess if you could go anything more opposite of ice, it'd probably be dirt, right?
Dirt, mud, potholes.
Yeah.
What do you want?
I mean, if you're gonna race anywhere on Easter Sunday, you would want it to be the dirtiest track you race at.
Yep.
So that's what we did this weekend. Bristol Dirt, Food City Dirt Race, it's called. And guess what, James? A dirt guy finally won the race.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Chris Bell finally gets it done and becomes the first dirt racer to win the dirt race.
Yep. That was, man, I tell you, I thought for sure, and it's funny because, we do our fantasy stuff and we like to pick drivers and, every week and all these things. And I was so hesitant to take Kyle Larson. And then did I feel like an idiot early on.
Well, I picked him and didn't do me any good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, he got into some stuff, but yeah, I didn't think Chris Bell was going to be the first one to do it. And then honestly, Eric, to give you my honest opinion, I guess right off the bat, I thought it was actually a pretty good show.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the race, for sure.
I thought overall it was good. I mean, I guess, we've been screaming for 2 years since they announced they were going to do this, that they need to do it at night. And I think that really helped it. But yeah, I mean, I think the track was about as perfect as you can get a dirt track, especially a temporary dirt track, to be. It kind of gave us what we wanted. DBC today argued a little bit, and they're not wrong that, there wasn't a lot of passing for the lead.
Yep.
You know, we had 4 lead changes amongst 4 drivers, and I think only one of those happened under green flag. But really,
Yep.
if you look past first place, there was tons of passing, and there was all kinds of battling, and it was 3 wide and 4 wide and bouncing off of each other, and it was
Yep.
a good old fashioned dirt race, at least as close as you can get in a car that's not designed for dirt.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, even with Christopher Bell, I mean, Bell led 100 laps out of 250, but man, we still didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, it was coming down to the last lap. Reddick was going to make a move, and just didn't get it because of the caution.
Yep. Yep. And there was a lot of slicing and dicing between, you know, what he had going on and Chase Briscoe, I guess, with about 20 laps to go before he fenced it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a few things that were going on.
Ryan Blaney was up there until Briscoe wrecked him.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, man. I as much as I dislike Bristol Dirt, that felt more like a NASCAR race. I think that was definitely the best one.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, and ironic that it was probably the last one. They finally get it right, and then they're gonna
sounds like it, right?
Yeah. But so I was kicking myself during this race, James, because I don't know why. Every time we go to one of these dirt tracks, every time we do a dirt race, Austin Dillon's up there, and I'm like, why do I not remember that Austin Dillon is a great dirt racer? Why do I not remember he won the first Eldora race?
Yeah, I know, and Ty Dillon's not half bad either.
No.
I think he made a flare up into the top rung there for a little while. He didn't stick around, but he was in the mix there for a little bit.
Yeah, he was one of them that tried.
But
to
yeah,
knock
those Dillon boys can, right? Yeah, those Dillon boys they can wheel it on the dirt.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be Austin Dillon's night until Bell ended up there, and it was like, oh boy, here we go. And and he ran away with it until, like I said, Reddick was chasing him down, and I think he had the move. I don't know how they'd have come out of that turn. They might not have. It might have been Dillon's race, but he was making the move for sure.
Right. Yep. I don't know. Like, I treated this race, and we'll talk about fantasy. I guess that's the only way I can describe it. I don't know. I always kind of throw this race out as far as I think of it more as an exhibition than anything else because it's so strange. But this was the first time I actually felt like I had a good feel for who I would be seeing up front. And when I saw Austin Dillon up there, I actually wasn't surprised because I guess I remembered that he was pretty good. But it is the one event of the year where, you know, even maybe more so than Talladega or Daytona, you do get those wild card guys who really do have a shot. You know, Jonathan Davenport was in this race and he was not, I mean, he wasn't great, but I looked up at one point and he was inside the top 18.
Yeah.
So I thought that was actually pretty
did
impressive.
better than I expected him to do. The end result was about what I expected. But he performed better in the race than I thought he would.
Yep, exactly.
So I guess let's get into the first controversy of the race. Kyle Larson and Ryan Preece get together a couple times. They end up getting together the final time, and Larson ends up in the fence and finishes 35th. Not able to repair the car after leading 75 laps in this race. And winning the first stage, finishing third in the second stage. So Larson definitely was there until he ended up back in trouble. So I guess there's a couple places to go. First of all, Preece was not happy with Larson. Larson wasn't thrilled with Preece, although Larson was maybe a little bit more politically correct about it. Then Preece, of course, refused to admit that he did anything on purpose. Likely in light of a news item we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I guess, first of all, anybody's fault, James, racing incident, what do you call that? And then, I guess let's start there.
Yeah, I think, I guess I had a blind spot here that Kyle Larson races guys pretty difficult. And I heard Denny's clip about this, and I've actually heard some other people talking about this, but it seems to me that from what the drivers think and maybe some of the talking heads, they all think that Kyle Larson got got what was coming to him a little
Yeah.
bit. Not that Preece maybe even meant to wreck him, but just to simply race him really hard, and not give him any room, the same way Kyle Larson raced him. And I gotta tell you, I don't blame Preece one bit for the way he's attacked the season in a very interesting way to me, and this is just kind of on brand for what we've seen from him so far. He's driving like a guy himself who's got one last shot, and he doesn't want to blow it. So when he has his day ruined, he's gonna make it be known.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, I think looking at it from my seat, I would have argued that was probably Preece's fault, at least the retaliation at the end. But based on everything I've heard from everybody that should know better than I do, and looking back at it now, it looks like Larson kind of did it to himself.
Yep.
And Denny, I think, mentioned, like you said on his podcast, and I think Denny's right. Larson does have a history of doing this type of stuff. He gets this. Everybody views him as this super clean driver because he's got the smile on his face, and he's got the I'm not all fired. Well, he's not all fired up about it after the race, and he's not talking smack and stuff. He's got this clean cut appearance. But I mean, if you watch his dirt races, if you look at the race that him and Davenport had in the late model, I mean, Larson was driving like a freaking idiot. And
they were both driving amazing.
And that's what he does. And hey, it wins him races. That's why he wins races. So I mean, I think this is a racing incident, but I think if you're going to put fault on somebody, it's Larson. And if Larson and like you said, I'm with you. Preece said at Coda, he's done getting pushed around. And good on him. And he's not going to get on the mic as much as they try to goad him into doing it. He's not going to get on the mic and say, "Yeah, I did it on purpose," because he's not an idiot. He's not Denny Hamlin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. If NASCAR's penalties, we'll talk about that too. If that told us anything, just keep it bland.
Yeah.
Don't. Oh, I'm not very good at dirt racing. Not a lot. Not my expertise. You know what I mean?
Even Earnhardt was smart enough to say, "I didn't mean to wreck him. I just meant to rattle his cage."
That's right.
You know,
rattle his cage. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that was just a rattle his cage. That was classic Bristol, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I guess Bristol Dirt translated to real Bristol in some way there.
Right. So Larson had some comments too about this race. He made comments before the race. First of all, he came into this race with, pardon the word, but he came into this race with a shitty attitude, to start with.
He hates it.
And made comments in the media center before the race that NASCAR shouldn't be racing here, shouldn't be racing on dirt. Somebody asked if, okay, so let's not race at Bristol. Where should we race? And he says nowhere. No dirt track. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on this, James? Because I got my opinions, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I will say this. I mean, you know how I feel about Bristol Dirt, so I don't want to sound like I'm just banging the drum for what I want to see. But Larson has been consistent every year he's raced here. He has said the same thing.
Yeah.
This year he took it up another notch by saying we shouldn't race anywhere on dirt. That's not my view of it. If you know where I stand, Eric, right. I think NASCAR, if they're going to race dirt, race a real dirt track. Don't do this sideshow at Bristol. And I think Larson's coming from a good place. I just don't think he communicates it very well because he hates it so much. I think he just hates it so much. He's
flat out saying that he doesn't want to race on dirt. But here's the thing that pisses me off about this. Larson's a dirt guy. Yeah. He's gone as far as saying at one point in his career, and I'm sorry, I know he wants us to forget about it, but I'm not going to let him live it down, that a Chili Bowl win is more important than a Daytona 500 win to him. Mm-hmm. This guy is a dirt guy, and he really, I understand that he doesn't like driving these cars on dirt because it's not what he's used to, but he should be banging the drum for dirt, not dissing it the way he is. I just think his attitude about it sucks. I get it. I understand, but you're the dirt guy. Like, just because, and you're the guy that went back to Eldora multiple times until you finally got to win it in the truck. Yep. And I get it. Okay. These cars, they talked about it on DBC today, I believe it was, or I don't know. I listened to so many podcasts today that I don't know which one I listened to.
Nice.
Anyway, they talked about the fact that, okay, these cars are sports cars, basically. This car is built after a sports car. It's not built after your sedan or anything like that. It's built after a sports car. And you wouldn't be running sports cars on these dirt tracks. That being said, the truck series, they're trucks. They race on dirt. But the problem is they're not trucks. Those are Busch Grand National chassis that they slapped a truck body on way back in the day. Those are no more dirt vehicles than the Cup cars are. Mm-hmm. And I get that these cars aren't built for it, but we raced NASCAR stock cars on road courses for years that weren't built for road courses. Yep. They're all in the same equipment. I don't care whether it handles good. That's what makes it good to us, is that they can't drive them like a late model, Right. I don't know. And it makes it so that a guy like Joey Logano has no dirt experience and go out and dominate a truck race or win the Cup race on dirt. The dirt guys don't have this giant advantage. They did this weekend when the track dried out and they knew where to find the moisture. But I don't know. I'm so frustrated with this. And I'm going to talk about it later. I'm sick of this. We bitch because we're running all the same tracks. Stop running the same tracks. We need some different tracks. We need to do something different. And then NASCAR does something different. They put dirt down on this one. They're building a track in the middle of a city. They built a track in a stadium. And then everybody goes, oh, why are we doing this stuff? This sucks. Why don't we go back to Chicagoland and go back to these tracks that we've begged for years to get rid of? My God, shut up and just enjoy the damn racing.
It's never going to end, Eric. Plus, we have the added benefit, the two of us, that we get to come on here and do it ourselves. Right.
James, I love the dirt race. I love it. And I've actually loved it more and more each year. As somebody who went to Eldora and enjoyed the Eldora experience, I was won over. So you and I, when we went to the first, again, we've talked about this in the podcast. This podcast was born from the Eldora dirt race.
Yep.
When you and I went to that dirt race, I went to that first one. I was not a dirt guy. I went there going, well, this is going to be a crap show. Let's go watch it. Let's be part of it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, holy crap, this is awesome. And then I went back year after year because of how great it was.
Yeah.
And now we're doing it with the Cup cars. I begged for it back then. I knew you and I disagreed on that, but I begged for it back then. Now we got the Cup cars on dirt. Would I rather see the Cup cars, and this is in our notes, so we might as well talk about it now. Would I rather see the Cup cars at Eldora? Yeah, I would prefer to see that. But you know what? They've built a really good dirt track in Bristol, and it works. And I get that it costs a bunch of money, and it's a big process for them to do, but I don't care about that. What do I care about that for?
You just want to watch it on TV.
Exactly. I mean, I don't care how much work it is. If they're willing to do it, then do it. And, Eldora is a beautiful facility, but it is nowhere near, and I've never been to Bristol, but it's nowhere near the facility that Bristol is.
Right.
And I realized that we put maybe a third of the fans into that track that it will hold, but we weren't doing a lot better with that than that when we raced on the concrete in the spring.
Exactly.
We were closing the backstretch grandstands for that race. Mm-hmm.
Yep. They were trying to park everybody on the front stretch. I remember that.
So here's my question about this, James, because I know.
Well,
You go ahead. You comment
here
and we'll dig into it more. Yeah.
I wanted to throw one more.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just on a rant.
No, go. No, man. It was great. I did want to ask you though before we moved on.
Yeah.
So Kyle Larson, obviously, NASCAR is his day job.
Right.
And he's really good at it. Right. He's one of the best.
Yeah.
Do you think? And I'm just throwing devil's advocate at you. Mm-hmm. Do you think he speaks about Bristol not as a NASCAR driver, but as a dirt racing enthusiast who sees this as not real dirt racing? Do you think that's where he's coming from?
Maybe, but then you got a guy like Davenport that came in and he dropped a quote that everybody is resharing that is only part of the quote, where he allegedly says that this is just a show. It's not a real dirt race. But what he was really saying is he had a lot of fun. He would like to do it again. He would do it at a different track as well on dirt.
Yep.
But he views it as a show, not a real race, because he's not a freaking NASCAR driver. That's why he said it.
Yeah, he's a late model driver.
Right. He didn't say it because it sucks. He wants to be a part of it. So
I think that Kyle Larson loves dirt racing so much. It is his passion.
Yeah.
I think I'm speaking on his behalf, and I don't know if this is the case, but I think that he believes that what NASCAR does at Bristol is a bastardization of what he truly loves. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of any other sport comp, but I don't know. It'd be like, I don't even know, playing an NFL game in in somebody's backyard or something on dirt. I don't know,
Right.
but you know what I mean.
It'd be like playing a football game in a hockey stadium instead of a football stadium, right? Oh,
Right,
wait, they
exactly.
do that, you know?
Right.
So
right.
But here's the thing: isn't NASCAR a bastardization of auto racing? I mean,
Sure.
isn't it?
It's become somewhat of that. Yeah,
no
you
other
could say that.
no other form of racing raced cars off the street.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep.
Stock car racing is a thing for NASCAR. It's not a thing because that's what everybody was doing.
Well, and you can talk about NASCAR's point system and driver etiquette, and you could say that for a lot of things. Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree with a lot of it, and you could probably make a really compelling argument for some of it too.
I love the fact that we have one dirt race. I love the fact that it's one race that's different. It used to be we had a couple road course races, and some guys would prepare for it. Some guys would just go, well, whatever. We'll just take a mulligan this week. Well, now everybody's good at road courses, so now we got another one that throws a wrench into things, and the teams don't know how to set up the cars, and they don't know what to expect, and they changed the tire for the Truck Series this year and threw another loop, and I like it. And the track it's different every year, it's different every day because it's a dirt track.
Yep.
And I'm not, I've worked at a dirt track, but I'm an asphalt guy, and this is coming from an asphalt guy, but it's one race, and it's fine, and
yeah.
Only thing I would change about Bristol Dirt is I would prefer to have live pit stops. We've discussed this ad nauseum on here. I don't know how you could possibly do it in a safe way, but I would prefer to see that. Otherwise, I am good with it.
Yeah, sure.
So, and so here's my question, James.
Yeah, throw it out there.
Let's say this. Okay, you're not a fan of putting dirt on Bristol.
I don't like it, no.
But you're not against a dirt race.
No, I'm not.
So here's my argument. Okay. We get the dirt race. We don't put it at Bristol, but Bristol loses a date. Would you rather Bristol have a date that's dirt or no date so we can race on dirt somewhere else?
I would rather have no date. I'd rather have one date, no dirt.
Really? That's
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you could put on a better product somewhere else.
I don't know if you could.
I don't know.
I think you could put on an equal product at Eldora, but I don't think you could have the amenities at Eldora. I mean, it would be different. First of all, it would be a lot more expensive. You're talking a ticket probably like the North Wilkesboro race to Eldora.
Yep.
Versus you could probably walk into Bristol for the dirt race and get a seat,
Yeah. Oh yeah, you could have on Sunday. You could have definitely. And I mean, it's Easter,
Right.
It's tough to.
You and I have been to Eldora. Eldora needs some upgrades if they're going to put cup cars in there.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Because I've been to Eldora and I've been to North Wilkesboro, and I know North Wilkesboro even run down had stuff that Eldora doesn't have.
There's not a dirt track in the country, I don't think, that can hold a Cup Series race.
Right.
Unless, Eldora, you got to market it a different way.
Yeah.
You can't expect
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would prefer we go to Eldora, but if the only way to keep a dirt race is to run it at Bristol, I'm totally fine with this. I don't see what you're going to gain from going back to the concrete here. I just don't.
Yeah. I don't know. I
think you make the night race a bigger ticket by only having the night race now. That's the only race on the actual surface.
I think Bristol, part of my reasoning too is it compounds with, I think Bristol should be reconfigured a little bit as well, not just what it is now. I'd love to see Bristol go back, but here I am complaining about the 90s again,
right?
Just like an old man yelling at a cloud. I'd love, like, Dale Jr. keeps saying he wants blacktop on that track again.
How cool are the pictures that Dale Jr. is posting where you can see the mountains in the background?
It's cool, man. It looks great.
Yeah.
That's what I'd rather have. And if we had one of those and no dirt, I'd be fine with that, and put the banking back up to 36 degrees where it used to be, and let's go. But
36 degrees in air quotes. I don't think it was ever 36 degrees, but
well, whatever it was.
It was billed as 36 degrees.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But I mean, I'd love to see that. That's my dream. That was a great question by you, Eric, because it was almost impossible to answer, because you can't. I don't know. I love what Bristol is as it is. So seeing it with lipstick on it like that.
But you still get
hurts.
Bristol as it is.
I know, but it's not the same.
Not
It's
only
just
that, but the World of Outlaws and the late models and the street stocks and all these guys get to race at Bristol.
Yeah.
When they normally wouldn't get to race at Bristol.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the. I don't want. There was a picture that Dirty Mo put up today. I'll bring that up right now. What would you get rid of? And I jokingly sent it to you and said all four because it was the Clash, it was Indy Road Course, it was Bristol Dirt, and whatever the heck. Oh, the Chicago Street Race. I said, yep, get rid of all of them. Just jokingly, kind of tongue in cheek. But I will say, not knowing what the Chicago Street Race is, Bristol Dirt, what we saw on Sunday, towards the end of the race, there was a lot of inconsistency with calls, and the race was kind of the race was not.
It was a NASCAR race after all.
Yeah, the race was wonky, but seeing good racing, I laughed when Tony Stewart said it. He said, "If you don't like this kind of racing, you don't like racing," and leave it to my icon to open my eyes and be like, well, this is actually good racing. I don't know if I agree with you, but it looks good right now. Like, this is actually entertaining racing. And like you said earlier, Eric, we had a great battle for the lead. Comers and goers. Briscoe was up there with a busted hand. I mean, we had storylines. We had, we had intrigue. We had guys we don't usually see.
We had two guys mad at each other at the end.
Yeah. So, to kind of go full circle and kick any argument I have in the butt. I mean, yeah, that was a good Bristol race, and it had a lot to give. I still don't love it, but it was not the worst race we're gonna have all season. I'll tell you that. No, definitely.
Yeah.
It probably isn't gonna be the best race we've had all season, and I sure as heck hope not. I hope we have a lot of great racing.
James, it's not the worst race we've had yet.
No,
I mean,
it's not.
We've had worse races
really
this season.
No, it really isn't. And it's funny. When Tony said that, I disagreed with him immediately. But as the race kept going on, like, I just kept thinking about that, and I'm like, this race is pretty good. As much as I hate this, and in my being, I really don't like it at all. Taking it for what it is, it was good. It was a good show.
How much do you think Fox had to pay Tony to get him to talk good about this race?
Oh, he doesn't like going there. He doesn't like going there.
He wants to be in his own track.
When they gave him his 75th top 75 driver award there for a reason, because they got to cheer him up somehow, because he wanted to. Jeez, Pete's, he wanted to get that NASCAR race at Eldora, but
how good is Tony in the booth, though? Tony's good in the booth.
He's been good.
He does a good job, and you know what I like about him is he's harder on his drivers than anybody else.
Oh yeah, he was not happy with Preece.
Yeah, no, he wasn't.
Yeah,
I'm sure he was mad at Preece when he put Larson in the wall the first time.
yeah. And at the same time, he was pumped for Chase Briscoe.
Yeah.
It kind of protected him a little bit from how he broke his finger, I think. But he did some. But I mean, all those owners are doing some sort of service up there. So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But
we talked about Reddick almost getting the win. Joey Logano, past winner, best performing driver at this track. I cursed him this week by picking him.
The Eric Hex, man.
When he backed through the water barrels on the front stretch, I knew the night was over, and then it just got worse. It just got worse.
Eric, I'm telling you, man, it's funny. I mean, I
feel bad for the driver I'm picking this week because I'm going to curse him. And he doesn't need to be cursed, but I'm going to curse him anyway.
It will eventually get better, but right now... I don't think it will.
I'm almost hoping for it to continue this bad.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it later, but holy cow, dude.
Yeah. One whole point for Joey Logano in this race.
Holy smokes.
What a mess.
What a mess indeed. What a mess indeed.
Anything else with the dirt race? The Cup race we need to talk about, James. I know there's all kinds of... I mean, Todd Gilliland had another good run this week.
Ty Gibbs, Justin Haley. I had Justin Haley on my fantasy lineup, and I pulled him out late and could have... I guess it didn't matter.
When did Michael McDowell become a dirt racer? He finished 11th.
And he did the loop-de-loop.
Yeah.
It kept going. And they called a caution for it, which actually I think hurt him because I think it sent him to the back of the line.
Oh, I got one for you. What'd you think about the Kyle Busch caution?
Oh, that one was That one wasn't good.
What garbage? He was on pit road.
There was a couple of them that were bad, really bad.
There was a Larson one like that too.
Yeah, just inconsistent on the cautions. But I mean, again, like you said, it's a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
So, shout outs to a few guys though. Like I always forget Bubba Wallace is pretty decent. He won Eldora.
Yeah.
He had a good run. Ty Gibbs.
Yeah.
Is that his first NASCAR race on dirt? Did he race? Oh no, he must have. He had to. No,
he didn't. The trucks. No.
He never raced the trucks.
Nope. That was his first one.
First NASCAR race on dirt for Ty Gibbs, 10th place finish.
It's pretty good.
That is that's remarkable. That's his 4th in a row.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's remarkable.
He's doing really well. He's not gonna get
steady.
that win like I said, but he's performing well.
Yep, he's been very, very steady. Ricky Stenhouse, another great run for him. So yeah, there's just a few guys you can shout out there.
How about JJ Yaley in the Rick Ware racing car? He won his almost won his heat race.
Yeah, and he started up front.
Yeah.
Had a good day and ended up 20th at the end. But that was a great run for those guys, especially a week after his little entanglement with Denny Hamlin.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and other issues at Rick Ware Racing we'll get into.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, I thought overall good race. Obviously, there's things that could be better, but a lot of that came down to just calls that were made during the race, and it's a 250 lap race, so things happen quick. And what'd you think of the choose drone?
I love the choose drone.
Yeah.
I was all for it. Yeah, I thought it was cool. Yeah. I thought it was cool as heck.
I mean, at least they came up with something. They
put a camera on it.
They were complaining about it on DBC because Freddie was whining that somebody could have cheated the system, but nobody did. So I don't know what he's whining about. But
I think that I would bet money that we will see the choose drone elsewhere.
Yeah,
I think that's going to come back.
I like it. Like you said, I like the fact that the camera's on it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that thing. That was pretty cool.
So, I think that pretty much covers the dirt race. Speaking of Joey Logano, if you would have watched the race on Saturday, you'd have thought he probably had a pretty good chance on Sunday, because he led just about flag to flag to win the truck race. Won both stages, led 138 of 150 laps. The only other driver who led more than one lap was Matt DiBenedetto, who led 11.
Man, that was the first time in NASCAR. So since stage racing, first time in any NASCAR race that the top 3 in the final and both stages were the exact same.
Yeah,
that was like, well, that was a butt whooping for Joey Logano and everybody else who was behind him.
This race fell victim to the fact that we had a bunch of heat races for 2 series on it before this race.
Yeah, yep, that's true.
The track just wasn't good for these trucks. It was single line, and it didn't do them any favors running this dirt race, which is disappointing because the dirt race was the truck series thing for so long.
Yeah.
And now this is the only one they have. We're not going to Knoxville this year. No Eldora. So this is it for the trucks on dirt, and it wasn't the show that we wanted to see. But good for Joey Logano. I got to see that fan flipping him off every lap, which is a pretty funny story.
Yeah, yeah. They flip them off all you want. At least they're making noise for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's somebody really asked him in the media center if he thought of flipping the fan back off as he went by, and he said, "No, he's never done that."
Yeah, I wouldn't admit to that.
No, probably a bad idea.
How cool was it to see William Byron back behind the wheel of a KBM truck?
That was pretty neat. That was one of those neat, unexpected side effects of Kyle switching to Chevrolet.
Yep. So yeah, the reunion of one heck of a tag team. That truck when Byron was racing for Kyle Busch, that truck was pretty tricked out.
Yeah.
Pretty ridiculous. I know they didn't win the championship that year, but jeez, Pete's. He was dominant.
The old man Matt Crafton gets a top 5 finish on dirt.
That's what he does.
He's become a dirt guy. Started racing the dirt modified, and he's got the Eldora win, and now he gets top 5 here when he's kind of been struggling a bit in the truck series. So good on him to get a top 5 finish out of the day.
Absolutely.
Trying to think if there's anybody else really to jump out at. Rajah Caruth ran a decent race here, had some help from Kyle Larson. Oh, we didn't mention the fact that Ryan Blaney spotted for Joey Logano in this race too, which is kind of cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
Not that Blaney had to do a whole lot with Logano out front, but still a neat deal.
Yep, absolutely.
Daniel Dye was behind every accident that happened, which gave us great camera views. Stuart Friesen performed decent and then had trouble, and his wife managed to not make the race again. But at least she didn't flip this time. So
She always tries, yeah.
there you go. There's Truck Series
Trucks.
at Bristol Dirt. And we leave Bristol Dirt in the dust, so to
Raja
speak.
Caruth, 11th place. I just saw that.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he ran decent. So
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
you missed my joke, James. You missed it.
I did.
Leave
Yes,
it in the dust. So
I did.
all right. Let's talk some news, James. Talk some news. So we had some appeals this week. We hinted last week that those were coming, and the first one we can talk about was last Wednesday. Kaulig had their appeal, and didn't quite go as well as it did for the old Hendrick boys. I guess when Rick Hendrick doesn't own your team, it's just doesn't work out as well, right?
Yep.
They got some of their points back, right?
Yep.
Didn't they get
And
like
they're
25
still
points
appealing.
back?
They're gonna go one more level in the appeals process. So
Yeah.
we'll see. This one we didn't. I don't remember how we discussed it. I didn't listen back to our discussion on this part of it, but I wanted to ask you. We didn't see this coming. We thought they were for sure going to be just fine, right?
Well, I figured there'd be something wonky because it's NASCAR, and I mean I know NASCAR didn't make the decision.
Yeah.
But it's NASCAR's system. I figured something wonky would happen. It seemed impossible that they wouldn't get at least what Hendrick got, because
that was nuts.
they only had one louver versus 8 that were bad.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't know a lot of the inner workings of all this, and like you said, they're gonna appeal the appeal, and see how that goes. But I don't know. Just again, lack of consistency. Of course, NASCAR did change some rules then after this.
Yeah, from this one. Yeah.
So we will now in the future know more about why the decision was made. It sounds like NASCAR is going to start displaying parts that don't meet specifications that are penalized.
Love that.
Yeah, I do too.
That's old school.
I do
Put
too.
them out there.
And
Let's see them.
And then the appeals panel is also going to be limited in what they can do with these penalties. They can essentially decide whether it's a penalty or whether it's not, but they still have to issue the penalty within the scope of whatever the rule says, and blah blah blah. I don't have the wording right in front of me, but anyway.
Basically, NASCAR closed the loopholes. You can have points and stuff reduced, but you're still penalty. A penalty is a penalty.
Well, I believe they can erase the penalty, but they can't do like they did here and give half of it back.
Yes, right.
So,
right.
And then Denny Hamlin went and did his appeal on Thursday, and his also went worse, I guess. The only way it could have been worse than this is if he would have been given more points taken off. But Denny comes out with the same penalty he went in with.
And he felt good about it, too.
Yeah.
That's the funny part. He thought he had a good case. Nope.
So, first of all, I want to if we were Door Bumper Clear and we had a What an Idiot segment, I would name Denny the What an Idiot this week, because Denny continues to double down on that drivers should be able to say when they wreck somebody on purpose. And Denny, nobody's ever been allowed to say when they wreck somebody. Everybody's always gotten penalized for it. Most people don't do it because they're not stupid.
Take your L, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that being said, I think Denny said it the best. If you listen to Denny's emergency podcast he held last week after the penalty, which, speaking of which, James, I almost called you and said, hey, let's do an emergency podcast before I knew Denny was doing one. But
yeah, he did.
But in that podcast, Denny talks about the fact that he said on his podcast that he let go of the wheel and steered into Ross and blah, blah, blah. And then he really didn't do that. He was exaggerating for the show. And the data shows that he doesn't. And that's kind of my thought of the whole thing. I think Denny got in trouble because Denny bragged. I think Denny got in trouble because he acted like he did more than he did. I think it was a mistake that he let become a bigger mistake because it was Ross and he didn't care. But I think he wouldn't have been penalized if he had just said what he actually happened instead of trying to take credit for it.
Yep.
But I still don't like that he was penalized for this.
Yeah.
I do think that it has now drawn a line in the sand, and that drivers are going to be extra careful because of it. And you're going to have interviews like Ryan Preece's this weekend. But I don't know. You don't blab. That's the thing. Everybody but Denny knows. You know, even Freddie Kraft, who loves Denny Hamlin, basically said, "Shut up."
Yep.
So, did I miss anything there?
No, that was good.
Opinions?
No, you nailed it. I don't even know if I have anything to add, honestly. Like,
I'm very opinionated tonight, James. So,
well,
sorry if
good.
I bulldoze over you.
No, you just keep rolling, baby. I'm here. I'll be your hype man anytime. Denny just sounds like he's smarter than everybody else sometimes.
Yeah.
And he's just got to let this go.
He sounds like he thinks he's smarter than everybody else.
That's right. Yeah. He's got to take an L from time to time.
Yeah.
But he's been hit hard by NASCAR penalties over the last 2 years. I think he maybe can settle down just a little bit.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he named his podcast Actions Detrimental for a reason.
He's doing a thing.
He's been penalized for this type of stuff over his career.
He's doing a thing.
Yeah. So, whatever.
It's professional wrestling. That's what he's doing.
I mean,
that's
really,
all he's doing.
You're right. He's definitely getting more listeners.
He's the Rock on the microphone. That's what I mean, that's honest to God what he's doing.
You're right.
I'm sure his sponsors are like, yeah, Denny, keep getting those tweets towards us and all this other crap.
Yeah.
That's all. That's it.
Yeah, it's true. News broke over the weekend. First of all, it was announced late in the weekend that Matt Crafton would be replacing Cody Ware in the 51 car at Bristol Dirt for personal issues that Cody Ware was dealing with. I want to take a second here and because I want to be very careful with my wording of anything I say about this.
Yeah, it's
because I would prefer not, because it's a legal issue, so I'm not going to get involved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Bob Pockrass's tweet, and this is all I'm going to say. If you guys want to research it more, do your research on it. We're not going to comment on our thoughts on it.
So it is what it is.
Bob Pockras tweets, NASCAR has indefinitely suspended Cody Ware. Iredell County online jail records show Cody Shane Ware, age 27, was taken into custody on charges of assault on a female and assault by strangulation, inflict serious injury. So you take that for however you want to take it, but it looks like Cody Ware will be out of a car for some time, and we will see what happens there. But like I said, we're not a news site. I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to get any legal issues.
Yeah,
so.
I'm not here to. Yeah, and this is one we do a thing on the podcast where we give our opinions on most everything.
Yeah.
This is cut and dry. This is cut and dry.
Yep.
We don't need to say too much more. Just know that Cody Ware won't be around for a long time.
Yep, he'll have his chance in court and do all that stuff, and we will not worry about all of that. If there's other news to discuss, we will discuss it. That being said, Matt Crafton appears to be scheduled to be in the car for the time being. So, good shot for Crafton, I guess.
I like that Matt Crafton. Yeah, I like seeing Crafton out there with the big dogs.
Yeah, I mean, Crafton's not a guy who's working on a cup career. You know, he's going to be a fill-in guy, but that works. Good for him.
Yep.
I mean, you're putting a veteran guy in a car. I mean.
Yeah, and his most notable start ever will be when Kyle Busch broke his leg and he ran the Daytona 500. That's
right. Yeah.
Probably the biggest single start he's ever had. And now he's just a veteran, and you get a guy in there who's a Ford affiliated driver driving a Ford. So. And
I mean, to be fair, if you're gonna fill in for a driver and want to look good, you want to fill in for Cody Ware, right? Because I mean, you can't look much worse.
I would have if I was. Well, the problem is it's Rick Ware Racing,
I know, right?
So.
Well, yeah, but Rick Ware Racing can't be garbage, James. They're good in IndyCar. They're good in other series.
I know.
Shoot, they've got a freaking Supercross team now.
It's the last, and it's the last name. Like, how do you replace? Like, I was gonna say, you know.
Oh, I gotcha.
I don't know why. You know why? Why wouldn't you go get like Jensen Button or somebody like that, right?
Yeah.
I think it's too close to home, but Matt Crafton will show up for you.
Yeah.
And he's gonna be a professional and do his job.
Yeah, and most weekends he's either gonna be off or he's gonna be at the same track. So.
Yep, and he's a professional NASCAR driver who's gonna show up and do his job. It's what Ganassi did with Kyle Larson and bringing in Matt Kenseth.
Yeah.
He was washed, but you know what you're getting when you get Matt Kenseth in there.
Crafton's going to be able to click out the same stuff that Cody Ware is clicking out without losing any sleep.
That's right. Exactly.
So they'll at least be on par with what they had before.
I'll say it's a driver upgrade. Honestly.
I think I agree with you.
Yeah. Sorry.
I won't hold any punches there. I totally agree with you.
I don't think highly of his talent. So
no, me neither.
He's not on my my guys to watch list.
Yeah, we've had that discussion on here before.
Yeah, we have a few times.
Things are getting there's some tension brewing between the NASCAR and the team owners. Team owners boycotted, and I used quotes around this because Denny kind of said it wasn't really a boycott, but anyway, the team owners boycotted a meeting with NASCAR over negotiations this week leading into the Bristol weekend. Sounds like the big question right now. Obviously, there's a lot of talk. It has a lot to do with just the revenue sharing and all that as we get ready for a new TV contract. But the big question right now, it seems to be the charters, and the teams want the charters to be permanent. You might forget that the charters were a temporary thing, and they're up, I think, in 2024. Apparently, Jim France, by the sounds of things, doesn't want the charters. He wants them to go away. Yeah. I have mixed feelings on this because I really don't like the charter system.
You hate it, yeah. You've never been a charters guy.
But because I've always been of the belief that the 36 or 43 or however many cars you're going to run, that the fastest car should get to race, and the ones that aren't fast enough don't get to race. But, in this day and age, it's a lot better to have a guaranteed paycheck and a guaranteed starting spot, and which is why the charter system's working. And I guess my biggest problem, James, is you got guys like Denny Hamlin, who reportedly has paid like $13 million to get a charter last year.
Yes, he did.
And now he might not get anything for that. I mean, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. What do you get back
for
your investment? And I know NASCAR would say, well, we let these guys come and race every week and they get a guaranteed spot, but now it's over. Like those charters were so hard to get for a long time.
I just, I don't like the charter system, but I don't think you can just throw it out now. I think our bed's been made with it.
Yep.
And I mean, again, we're talking Rick Ware Racing. I mean, those are the types of teams that you're going to get with the charter system. But we don't have anymore, James. We don't have starting parks.
That's right.
So I guess you take the win.
And competition, I would say, is elevating. Yeah. You've over the course of the charter system, you've brought in 2311 and a handful of these other teams that are competing for race wins. Yeah. Kaulig's out there competing for race wins. Trackhouse. Trackhouse.
If you're Justin Marks, you don't come into NASCAR without the charter system.
That's right. And you don't compete for championships and win races at all.
Denny Hamlin's not a team owner without the charter system. Michael Jordan's not a team owner without the charter system.
That's right.
Brad Keselowski's not a team owner without the charter system.
That's right.
So
and you have a valuable asset that you can, Eric, you remember these days, and maybe we have some listeners who are, after our time, which is hard to believe.
Right.
But remember when Darrell Waltrip had to sell his race team, and basically the only money you could get back was the parts?
Yeah.
And they were worthless because it wasn't a fast race team, right? There's nothing in that shop worth anything.
Now, better yet,
these charters.
How about you go out of business the year that NASCAR introduces a new car? Now your stuff's worthless.
Yes.
You can't even sell it.
You're selling to ARCA teams. Yeah, you're selling to ARCA teams for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. So no, I don't like the charter system, but I don't have a system that works better, and I don't think the old system works better. I think this system is the way to go.
Call it what you want. It's franchising. Yeah. And we have franchisees owning these teams and running these teams. It's like any other professional sport, and NASCAR, I think, gets it right. I think the charter system, initially I was not understanding of how it could even work, and when they were moving around and being leased all the time. They're not doing much of that anymore. They're very valuable assets. If you want a charter, you got to go get it, like Denny Hamlin did.
Yeah, I've come around on it, and not only that, James, but the guys who really want charters. I mean, really, if you sit here and think about it, of all the teams that we've heard of that wanted to get in the Cup Series, the only name that comes to mind that hasn't done it, hasn't found a way to do it, is Dale Jr. Everybody else who's talked about it.
And he was trying.
Right. And he still may. And right now he's not going to. I wouldn't buy a charter right now if I didn't know if the charters were going to last.
Yep.
But everybody else who said that they were looking to get involved has found a charter and gotten involved. So, I think there's charters out there, and I think, there's people are willing to sell if the price is right. And that's what's good about this system, is that you can set a price for it. It's actually worth something.
Yep. And if NASCAR today were to say, you know what, we're going to grant the field another charter and all non-4-car teams get to bid on it, the value of that charter, if you wanted to bring in a new owner or a current team to get one charter, I would venture to guess you're looking at like Denny said he's paid 13 million. I think one charter is probably pushing 15 million now.
Yeah,
maybe more.
I think they were talking. I think Kelly Earnhardt has said you're talking more in the 20s.
Yeah, and you're with that TV deal coming.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's too expensive, to be honest with you.
No.
I think it might be good value.
Well, it's definitely more valuable right now than it is after the contract signed.
That's right. Yep.
So
yeah, you want to get it now.
I mean, I would like to see NASCAR maybe bring, now that we've got, some pretty established teams here and we seem kind of full, I wouldn't mind seeing them maybe add 2 charters to the mix.
Yeah.
But then again, if you're not giving more money, you are now taking money away from the teams that already have charters.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So it's tough. I mean, they're in a box, but I don't think James, if they kill the charter system, I think they really go a long way towards killing the sport.
Yeah.
I really think hopefully everybody involved, hopefully the team owners, hopefully the NASCAR, hopefully all of these folks still remember the IndyCar kart split. It doesn't take much to remember it because all you have to do is go look at any IndyCar race except the Indy 500 and see what the stands look like. And remember that Michigan used to sell out for IndyCar and not for NASCAR. So it shouldn't be that difficult to remember, but people have short memories.
Yep.
Hopefully we don't run into that situation because a split or anything like that, any sort of boycott, any sort of, walkout, any of that would be a disaster. Absolute disaster. It's not the days of Bill France saying, well, we'll just run Xfinity cars in place of the Cup cars then at Talladega.
Yep.
Those days are gone.
Yeah. And, I think we should even mention that it's been floated around that some of these NASCAR teams would do an exhibition season, non-NASCAR sanctioned races.
Right.
Like to
I
add
still
to the
think
revenue.
that is just, that's posturing.
Positioning.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. But you're seeing the cracks now.
Yeah.
That was one thing. Now we're on to this thing.
Yeah. It's
the
a problem.
owners aren't happy and they know the big money's coming.
Well,
that TV deal is going to be huge.
It's a problem, and we're also relying on this TV deal, but TV ratings are down. And ratings went down again this week for the Bristol race. It was in a better time slot, and it's lower ratings.
Easter Sunday, it's so hard, man.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that, though. I still think they're better off on Easter Sunday, personally.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
I know my Easter festivities were done. I had nothing to do with sitting in front of the TV.
But then you're
and watch
going
that
up
race.
against NASCAR's got to remember what they're going up against. I mean, they went up against a juggernaut NCAA tournament, the women's tournament, which was absolutely bonanza. They want to go up against that a week ago. And then, you do these kinds of things on Sunday when you're pushing into Prestige TV with, HBO stuff that they've got massive shows going on.
And not only that, but show me anything but Netflix that has increased ratings.
Right.
You know, so you also have to take those decreased ratings with a grain of salt because everything's decreasing.
Well, I could say Formula One, but
but Formula One has
we've seen the numbers. We know what the live show, we know what the live ratings for numbers are.
Exactly. They're not in the conversation yet. The problem with the Formula One is that the age bracket that NASCAR wants is where Formula One is winning.
They're all in the Formula One. Yep.
Yeah. But that's just because those are the fans. I understand that we need young fans. But the fans that are on Formula One right now are the same fans that caused us to build these massive facilities that we had to tear a bunch of seats out of 10 years ago.
I read a good post about, NASCAR's worried about ratings going down, but the real reason is their fans are dying off.
Yeah.
Because they're all so old. Mm-hmm. And you cannot argue against that. It's just absolutely true. Yes.
No, that's why people get irritated with Fox for showing kids in the stands. Fox wants to remind you that kids do watch NASCAR.
Yes. Yep.
And the more kids they show, the more kids hopefully will come.
Yep.
But anyway,
it's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough deal. Things are rocky right now, and it's going to be rocky until this deal is signed.
It's going to be a battle. Yep,
we're looking at another year and a half of this stuff. Probably.
Yep.
So I don't anticipate. I mean, I would hope that before they go into the start of next season, they got something figured out. But I don't know. It's scary. So. Speaking of not positive things, James.
Yeah, we're rolling through them tonight, baby.
Yeah. So Chicago, NASCAR announced the Chicago road closures for the street race in downtown Chicago over 4th of July weekend. And, let's just say the Chicago people aren't very happy, James. They're kind of annoyed that they're going to have to be closing streets down for like weeks at a time for this race.
Yeah.
They're already not real excited about this race. We talked about Dirty Mo's live thing today where they asked about races and what races we could X, and Chicago street courses on that list. And before we even get into this part of it, these people that are bitching about the road closures, when 1 million people show up to Chicago to watch this NASCAR race and spend money in all their shops, they're all going to shut their mouths. So until this race happens, it's too early to declare it a failure. But man, do they have some obstacles.
It's not. Yeah, this is another one of those momentum is building in the wrong direction situations. And we've been reading about Chicago for a few months now, of just these trickling stories of people aren't happy. Their main events are moving. It's kind of wrecked their whole summer that they love so much. I'm pretty sure we're one and done here.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the city's gonna let us come back.
I say that you say that, James, but again, if this is a rousing success, then everybody's opinions are going to change really fast.
I just don't know if the locals are gonna I don't think it's if the locals enjoy it, it could happen, but if they don't, I don't know, man.
Here's the problem that I have with Chicago, with this ambitious plan that we have here. This is not the first time that we've had, a street race in a major city. The difference is that we do this at other places, but if you really look at those tracks, now I've only been to one, but if you look at them, if you look at a map of where these tracks are, most of them, short of like the Monaco Grand Prix and, some Formula One stuff, most of these are not in the city center of a city that is already known for having terrible traffic. St. Petersburg for IndyCar is raced by the airport. It's mostly on the airport. It's off to the side of town. The IndyCar race in Detroit for years has been in a state park. It's on an island that people go visit to take wedding photos. It's not
anymore. Right
now it's downtown. But there's nobody in Detroit anyway, so it doesn't matter to shut down the streets there. So
trust us, we know.
You don't have to put walls up. You could drive an Indy car down the street there and not hit anybody anyway. Long Beach is not right in the middle of town. All these tracks are not built right in the middle of a major, like top 5 city. If you were running this race in downtown LA, that's different than running Long Beach, Yeah. So I don't know. It's a big challenge. Chicago has already been resistant to this type of stuff anyway. Chicago people, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. I know what the Chicago fans are like, and they're not usually super welcoming of anything. Nope. So it's not surprising that this is getting resistance, but I think if it brings a ton of money to the city, everybody's going to change their tune real fast.
It could. They could.
I don't know. I'm going to stay optimistic and hopeful that this is a good race.
I just looked at the Detroit circuit, by the way, and they're just racing around the GM building.
Yeah, pretty much.
That really is all they're doing.
Pretty much.
And Eric, and I know what is around the GM building is just a bunch of empty lots.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
And a river walk. That's really all they're doing down there. So.
Yep.
And the Kobo, which is. The Kobo's still standing, but the Joe isn't. The Joe's down.
Yeah, and Kobo is going to be all for the IndyCar race anyway, so that's not going to matter.
Yes, that's right.
So, yeah.
And they raced down there before. It's been since the 80s, I think.
Right.
But they've raced there.
Yeah, back then people actually lived in the city, so.
Jesus, shots fired. Holy smokes.
I can't rip on Detroit. I really do like Detroit. I really have no issues with Detroit. I can't rip on it too much.
Well, the greatest football team in the country is housed there now.
I don't know about that. I don't know that I'm a real big fan of Detroit sports teams, but I like downtown. They've done a lot of stuff with downtown, and I think it's cool.
Detroit sports teams have done a lot of losing lately, but things are looking up.
Yes, they have. At least you don't have to worry about things like postseason.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So. Yeah. Although the draft, we are good at the draft.
Yeah.
That's our Super Bowl.
Well, James, the only other news item we have, NASCAR is adding to its top 50 drivers of all time and making it the top 75 drivers of all time. We got 2 new names added to the list this week. To start
3.
Did we got a third one?
We just got a third one today. Mike Stefanik.
Oh, so Mike Stefanik. That's interesting. Too. Okay, so Mike Stefanik is added. Tony Stewart was the first one added. I would assume you were pretty excited about that one.
I was pumped about that one. I was glad that he was the first one named to the 75. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, you and I had a pretty massive debate offline about this earlier, so it's probably not gonna be as much fun on the podcast because we already kind of debated it out. But you had some issues with the number 2 listed, James. Who was the second? Who was the second edition?
I did. When they added Casey Kane, I immediately threw my hands in the air and said, "No, there's no way, Casey Kane." So I did it, Eric. So I told you I said, save me a couple minutes to rant about this.
Okay.
But I actually did my homework and I said, I'm actually going to write down 25 drivers who are going to make this list. And I'm just going to tell you, Casey Kane's got to be on there. When we get to 75, we're running out of all-time guys. So I got to 19 drivers before I finally looked at it and said, okay, I got to put Casey Kane on here.
So I think your issue is that we started with Tony Stewart, who is arguably, I mean, no doubt going to be on this list. And then we went to Casey Kane.
There's a bunch of guys who are no doubt.
He was too early in the announcements, right? That's your issue, really.
Yeah, but they're doing 5 drivers a week.
Yeah, and they're not doing them in order by any means.
No. Like Jimmy Johnson isn't on the top 50 list. We know
right.
Jimmy Johnson's coming to this list, right?
Yeah.
Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote down all these drivers and, I threw Brad Keselowski on there. I put Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson on there, Bobby Labonte, Matt Kenseth. And then I started getting into, okay, Joey Logano, Dale Jr., Harvick, Carl Edwards, Ricky Rudd, Martin Truex, Ryan Newman. And then I got to Jeff Burton, Greg Biffle. And I'm like, once I got to Greg Biffle, I went, well, Casey's on. Yeah. I can't take him off. So Casey's in. And I didn't have Mike Stefanik on there. And they announced him today, so I felt like a fool because he's in the Hall of Fame. So
yeah,
of course he's going to be on the list.
I was a little disappointed because I didn't piss you off as much with my comment earlier because I named Ernie Irvan as to if Ernie Irvan's on the list, Casey Kane's got to be on the list because Casey's resume looks better than Ernie's.
Here's my problem with Casey Kane, and this is where Ernie wins the argument over Casey right here. At no point in Casey Kane's career at all was he ever considered that guy a championship contender. Ernie Irvan at least has 1994 before he got hurt, where he was a legit number 1.
Didn't Kane have 1 year in the 9 car for Evernham?
I'm gonna look up his numbers because I don't think he finished. He never finished in points. Let me see. He did have 2012. He did have 2012. But
I know there was a year he won a bunch of races with the 9. I thought.
Yeah, he did, but he was 8th in points.
He just wasn't
that
consistent.
Year.
Okay.
Yeah, he had an average finish of 15. So his best season, his average finish was 13th, all season long. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more to greatest driver though than just championships.
I agree. Oh, I agree.
Now championships certainly I think qualify you for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, they're the be all end all, right? Yeah.
But
I get you.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with Casey Kane being there. I know you're a big Casey Kane fan. So.
That's the problem. I was immediately outraged, and then I looked at the entire list of 25.
Especially when they name him after Tony Stewart.
Well, yeah, he's got to be on the list. He just has to. He's just, I don't know. I've had some issues with Casey over the years, but he's not that he wasn't a good driver. He was on a pedestal that he just couldn't fulfill. Well, unfortunately, it's not.
He's the anti Kyle Larson. I mean, he got the same path that Larson got, except that Larson succeeded and Kane didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, some of that could be equipment and stuff too, but I don't know. I agree with you. I think Kane was always he was overrated. He definitely was an overrated driver. But I don't think I don't think he was bad. He still has some majors to his credit,
He does. He raced 15 full-time seasons and he got hurt his last year, remember? Yeah. But he finished in the top 5 once. He finished in the top 10 3 times in 15 years. That's where I land on Casey Kane.
Yeah.
That's where I have he's got that Ryan Newman thing too, where he won a ton of races right away and set the bar real high. And then there was an immediate drop off, but he was also a victim of the economy collapse too. Yep. His team really let him down there, but he ended up going to Hendrick. So I don't know.
Right.
Can't really defend him there. He had the best stuff.
Yeah. But he was at Hendrick too at a time when maybe you didn't have 4 cars that were great. You had 1 or 2 cars that were great. I mean,
He had the Red Bull stench.
He was at Hendrick
stretch.
during the Jimmy Johnson era.
Yeah.
You know where the money was going over there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's going to that 48 car.
I'm trying to get Dale Jr. going again.
Right.
Back then.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, there you go. We'll be I'm sure talking about some of these drivers added to the list. Maybe there'll be some more surprises like Mike Stefanik. Should have been a surprise, but you're right. I wasn't.
I know, Hall of Famer.
I wasn't thinking of me either.
Blew it.
It's tough because I guess I don't know all the drivers that are on the top 50 list, so I don't know how many of them were non-Cup drivers.
Well, I forgot that Neil Bonnet was a top 50 driver because I was going to put him on my list, and then I saw after we were talking, I was like, crap, I missed Neil Bonnet.
Yeah.
So, like, Harry Gant's on there. A lot of guys are on there.
Right. Basically,
Kowicki,
anybody
all the guys.
Anybody that was anybody, it's 75 is a big number for a series that's only been around for 75 years.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot.
If you were to pick one driver every year, there's not been that many drivers that have raced NASCAR and been good at it.
Yeah, there's not that many champions either. You got to get
not when you got 3 7-time champs in that period.
Exactly. That's it's 21 titles out of 17 right there, or 75 right there. So yeah. But it was cool to see Tony get it. Mike Helton came and gave him his plaque and stuff. So that was cool.
Good for Tony.
Pretty cool.
Good for Tony.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, there's guys who are just like you said, Eric. There's guys that are no doubts.
I've really enjoyed having Tony in the booth this year with Fox. Really enjoyed having Tony back in the sport a little bit more. I miss him. I miss old Smoke.
Yeah, he'll be back for Dega, I believe.
I believe that's correct.
So, and I think they're gonna have him at Darlington too because he's gonna be being listed in the top 75.
There you go.
So pretty cool.
It's time to make our picks. My favorite part of the week, James, where I curse a driver. We talked about last week. You picked Chase Briscoe, 41 points for you, 40 points more than my 1 point for Joey Logano. So I'm just gonna get it out of the way. I'm gonna go with the guy that I predicted after the first race of the year was gonna win here, and I'm gonna go with Martin Truex Jr. Sorry, Martin. Sorry to jinx you.
That's actually not a bad pick.
Yeah, well, it will be because it's my pick. So, Eric, honestly, the driver that I want to pick, James, this weekend, that I would pick in a heartbeat if I could, is Josh Berry, because I think Josh Berry has a good shot to win this race this weekend.
You just don't. Yeah, unfortunately, you don't get the points
exactly
for him.
But I really like Josh Berry this weekend.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, I think I'm gonna take. I think I'll take Denny Hamlin this week. Looking at who I've got available.
Pick. Yeah, I think Denny predicted that this week he starts his roll.
Yep, I think Denny's is a good safe bet this week. I'm not sure looking ahead to where else I can put him. I could have probably saved him for Talladega, but I'll use him at a place where I can maybe get some usage out of him here.
I'll tell you one that I considered pretty strongly was hold on a second, did I not?
I was gonna say Blaney. I'll filibuster for you a little bit. Blaney's great here. Larson's been good. Byron.
Why did I think I'd already picked William Byron? I guess I didn't.
You could. I could have
picked him. No, I'm sticking with Truex.
I was gonna say you can change your pick.
Byron's good. You know who I was looking at that has at least the last 2 years has good finishes here is Ryan Blaney.
Yes. Yep. Blaney's really good here. Doesn't have the wins, but he's always in the top 10.
Yeah.
And he leads a lot of laps. He's one of the top guys with laps led. And he qualifies well. Really well.
Chastain has had 2 top 5s here last year. Of course, he did the infamous wall ride as well. Can't do that this weekend though. Bubba Wallace is good here.
And that's a good one.
One right now that probably is a good pick.
I'm saving Bubba.
Yeah, I am too, but I don't know for where. One that is a good pick to just get points lately is Todd Gilliland. Man, he's been good everywhere. Solid everywhere. Not good, solid.
Yep.
So, and Christopher Bell won a race here last year. Won the second race here last year. So
one guy we're forgetting we should definitely mention is Justin Haley. If you like a long shot guy, Justin Haley will. I bet you he will be top 15 most of the day. And if you're top 15 most of the day, you can get a break here and have a really nice day. So maybe he can get you some stage points. I think he'll have a good day. McDowell's just been solid for the whole season. So I I don't even know if he's a dark horse contender anymore at this point. He's just been rolling. Eric, all of us have Ty Gibbs available.
Yeah, that's a good pick
as
too,
well.
actually.
Like Ty Gibbs, like I know hasn't run a Cup car here, but we always keep forgetting. Like when you look back at the statistics, you got to remember, Ty Gibbs and Noah Gragson haven't been used yet. So.
Yeah, so you know what my problem probably is this year is I'm really just looking at last year, and that's probably a mistake.
Which is what I do. I mean, that's what I do. I look at the last couple of races, and then I always like looking at the package. Like if it's the short track package.
Right.
I look at how guys are doing this season on the short track.
Well, my reasoning for Truex, I'll go back to, is he won at the Coliseum, which I think is a precursor to this race. I think it's if there's any track that the Coliseum gives you any insight for, it's this race. Mm-hmm. And he's good at Martinsville, so
yes, sir.
But he won't be this week. Sorry, Truex.
Dude, if you have another single digit week,
I don't even know. I hope so. I hope. Sorry, I hope he does terrible.
So for those keeping score at home, Eric's earned 135 points on the season. I am at 285. It's a 150 point difference now.
I have to earn more points than I've earned all season just to catch you, and you have to earn 0. I know usually I get a lead early in the year, and then you come and crush me at some point. This is a big one. This is gonna be tough. Just for the record, I thought I would point out as well that if Ty Gibbs doesn't win this weekend, then that prediction also failed. Because I said he'd win a race in the first 10. So.
Oh yeah, you got to get one here. Yep.
So I probably should have picked him. Well, no, I shouldn't, because then he wouldn't win.
Well, that's right. Yeah, you got to stay away from him. Yeah.
James, you got any shout outs this week?
What about the fantasy?
Oh yeah, fantasy. Talk about fantasy.
Talk about the fantasy.
Yeah, I actually want to talk about that because I know you won.
I did. Second win of the year.
I got third.
You did.
Pretty happy with that.
You did. So the podium was Eric third. Our points leader, Barron Speedway, was second. And I just cannot pull away from that. I can't gain on him. He's right there with me every week. And then I was first. And then overall standings, I'll go really quick. Barron's still first. Mickey Elliott's second. And Tandem Draftona is third. Eric, you're fifth. I'm sixth. So we're starting to, we're just hovering around. We're hovering around. I'm 3 points behind you still. That's how bad of a start I got off to. So you're beating me in the fantasy league.
Yeah.
Got that going for you.
I had Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch as picks in that race and still managed a third place finish. Of course, I did have Austin Dillon. I added him at the last minute.
Yep.
And then he was my garage, and then when Joey wrecked, I had
Joey. I had Joey in my lineup, and I had to garage him, and I still somehow figured it out. But I went Truex, Reddick, Dillon, Briscoe, Bell. So I had all those guys under a blanket at one point praying that they didn't crash each other. So, and then I got some of the bonus picks too. But, yeah, some of the bonus picks hurt as well. But, you pick Kyle. Like I said, I didn't want to pick Kyle Larson because I just figured he was going to get wrecked by somebody. So
right. Yeah, I don't know. I picked him and probably shouldn't have
But he got 20 points still. I mean, you got to remember those points.
That's true.
For the stages.
That is true.
Are important, so.
All right, now shout-outs. You got any shout-outs?
We kind of talked about it a little bit. We had some really good podcasts over the week. Denny had his emergency episode. I thought the Teardown was really good.
I didn't listen to the Teardown. How was the rap? Was it cringy like last year?
It was cringy.
At least he knows it's cringy.
He knows. But I think Dirty Mo actually did a rap back at Jeff's rap.
Did they?
So yeah, I would listen to it for that.
Nice.
The Jeff Gluck rap.
Okay, I listened to Dirty Mo live today. That was good. Got Denny's, got DBC. I did not listen to Jeff's. And then Junior and Davis are off. They're on vacation, so there's another one. Kelly Earnhardt's is out, but I didn't listen to that one. So
yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah,
we're in a crowded space now, Eric.
Yeah, we are. Yep. Can't lose listeners though when you don't have any. I got a couple shout outs, James, and both of these are past shout outs as well. I just wanted to re-shout them out. First of all, there's a fella on Instagram that I've shouted out before. We are big fans of Barron Speedway, but this guy, I stumbled across, I believe because of Barron Speedway. His Instagram is diecast_series. He's the one that had the replica Daytona that he built years ago and ended up he moved, I believe, and had to throw it out. and he is in the process of building a full-scale replica of Phoenix Raceway.
I've seen this, yes.
And he's doing a race right now where he doesn't have the track completed, but he's got like the front stretch and the dog leg done. And he's the pictures of this thing, I'll tell you, it is amazing. I mean, it looks like Phoenix. He's got the safer barriers, everything. The signage is right. It is beautiful. I hope he is able to continue. He definitely is one that he's really good at teasing his work and not so good at completing it. So hopefully he eventually finishes it, but it's really, really neat. And just
That's cool.
Another one of these that just, I absolutely love Barron because his is done and it's so cool and it looks so real. And every time I look at pictures of it, I want to go watch a race at this track.
Yeah.
But this diecast guy, just the realism of it, like to real life, like the actual track is impressive. So check him out. The other one I wanted to shout out, I shouted him out before when I learned he was going to be doing this, but friend, former coworker, local announcer, Matt Preer, was able to be a part of the PRN broadcast at Bristol Motor Speedway this weekend for the Cup Series. He was a pit road reporter. I didn't get a chance to listen to him because I didn't listen to the PRN broadcast, but he posted on his social media this week that if he was to retire tomorrow, he has done everything he'd ever dreamed he could do. So,
oh man, that's
just
cool.
As somebody who has wanted to work in the sport and had an opportunity to do some stuff in the sport, man, I feel for him and absolutely just so excited that he got that opportunity. Very cool. He posted a picture of him interviewing Kyle Larson on pit. I mean, it's just so cool that for somebody to live out that dream. So, and to know him is pretty neat. So congrats on Matt being able to do that. He hasn't said anything about future races or anything, but the PRN guys, we usually go to people that they know. That's how he got this opportunity. So hopefully he'll get some more opportunities in the future. But very cool that he got to do that at Bristol this weekend. Helps that it's a holiday. It's Easter and people didn't want to be there, but hey, whatever. You take that opportunity when you can get it. So,
Absolutely.
How about black flags? You got any black flags this week, James?
Oh, there's a bunch.
I know I have a bunch too, but I'm going to narrow it down to one.
Oh man. Golly, I feel like I felt like I was a little more negative on this week's episode. I'm going to let it go. I will black flag myself just because I felt like I was a little negative this week because I was talking about Bristol Dirt. And and Bristol Dirt was actually a decent show, so black flag to me for that one. And then I don't want to be super negative on on like Chicago or anything else that I got a lot of feelings right now, so I'll just give it to myself.
All right, well then since you're gonna do that, I'm gonna be negative for you.
It's the cop out, man. I'm good at that.
I am going to give my big giant black flag to all of the drivers and all of the people in the NASCAR industry bitching about racing on Easter.
Oh boy.
I am so sick of listening to these guys complain about racing on Easter. Look, I get it. It's a family sport. They've all got families. They'd like to spend the day with their families. But I am, 41 years old, and I would kill for an opportunity to work full-time in NASCAR.
Preach.
There are tons of people, thousands, millions of people potentially that would kill to work in NASCAR, that would kill to race a car in NASCAR, that would kill to work on a pit crew in NASCAR, that would kill to be a media member in NASCAR or a social media guy in NASCAR, be able to be at the track. Hell, there are people that would dream of just being at the track as a fan that don't get the opportunity. You guys signed up for this. It's hard. I get it. I sympathize with you. But this is what you got. The NBA plays on Christmas. The football plays on Thanksgiving. The NHL plays on New Year's Day. That's when the people are watching TV. And I'm sorry. I do agree. I don't like NASCAR race on Mother's Day for a different reason, but it's not so everybody can spend the time with the families. It's because I think we should all be spending time with our mothers and not watching racing on that day. But Easter in the evening, perfect time for a race. Quit your bitching. Just go to the track, race. And here's the deal, James. I keep hearing we only have one off weekend all year long. One off weekend. Well, you know what you guys asked for years? A shorter season. NASCAR's not taking races away. You got a shorter season. You have to get the dates from somewhere. So guess what? You got to race every week.
That's right.
And you get to be done in the beginning of November instead of the middle of November or the end of November. My God.
That's a good one.
I got so tired of listening to it this weekend. It's like, guys, for Pete's sakes. And I almost bought into it for a minute. I'm listening to Brett Griffin complain about it on Door Bumper Clear last week, and I almost bought in and said, you know what? You're right. You guys should not have to work on Easter. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'd work on Easter if they'd give me the opportunity. But anyway, there you go.
Eric, I do have a quote if you want to end on this note.
All right.
Brian Hopkins on the NASCAR. He's a Chicago. He's a politician in Chicago.
Okay.
NASCAR road closures announced today. There are no questions that the inconvenience will be significantly more extensive than we are initially led to believe from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Good
So
stuff.
there you go. Black flag.
They're going to be welcomed with open arms in Chicago.
Yes, they are.
I stumbled across a video on TikTok today. I know you're a big fan of TikTok. It was one of the there's some good NASCAR TikTok stuff out there, James. It was one of the Truck Series hauler drivers, and it was him driving out of Bristol Motor Speedway, and it was pretty interesting to see how tight the quarters are. You know they're tight.
Oh yeah.
Pretty interesting to see them try to pull out of there with a truck
While
the Cup cars are all out there.
Too. Yep.
So pretty cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a job I want.
All right, James. If people want to hit you up on social media, where can they do that?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. Our website is thesuperspeedway.com. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Anchor. Subscribe there for new episodes each week. Don't forget to leave a comment, rate, all that stuff wherever you listen to the podcast. It's greatly appreciated. And wherever you listen to it, we hope you subscribe and continue to listen. If you would like to leave an audio message for us to play on the show, you can do so at anchor.fm/thesuperspeedway. Go ahead, complain about the Fantasy League, complain about NASCAR, complain about racing on Easter, whatever you want to do. We will play it on the podcast and try not to make fun of you too much. We go to Martinsville Raceway this weekend for NASCAR action. We actually have all 3 series in action at Martinsville. We will be back to break it all down next week. No wall riding this week. Everybody's going to stay off the wall for once. And we won't have that big Ross Chastain. Well, Ross Chastain's still in the race, so there'll probably be a Ross Chastain moment to talk about.
There will be.
Like I said, we'll be back next week to break it all down. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.